Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Maria Kafetzis, luxury real estate broker with 𝒞𝐿𝐻𝑀𝒮 Real Estate. And today I'm going to speak to the buyers and how to prepare yourselves, especially in today's market. You know, coming out of a pandemic, it's a little challenging and a little scary buying a home, and you kind of don't know what to look for, where to start, and should you hire an agent? Should you go out there by yourself and try to make it happen? So there's a lot of different things to consider. Now, as a buyer, the first thing you want to do is get a pre-approval. You want to go to an actual lender, and if you don't have a lender that you know, don't just call somebody online or do something like that. Actually, it should be a recommended person or a banker that you've worked with, but somebody who specializes in mortgages. It shouldn't be like your friend who does, work at a bank as a teller and is going to do your mortgage, because they're not going to get any competitive rates. They're not going to give you competitive loan programs. There's so much to go into getting a loan, and this is something that you're in essence getting into for 30 years. Naturally, the time a homeowner is in a home is 7 to 12 years. So you're not going to be in that loan program most likely for 30 years, but you're still getting into a 30-year loan program. So you want to be sure that you're making the right decision, and it's okay to shop it around. Actually, there's a law that they are not allowed to hold your mortgage shopping. So if they're mortgage inquiries, you're allowed to get, I believe it's 3 per month without being penalized, or it's up to 4. I have to double check that. But you are allowed to shop around for your mortgage without being penalized, because they want you to shop around for a mortgage. So getting a pre-approval is very different than getting pre-qualified. Pre-qualified is just basically you go and you tell somebody, I make $150,000 a year, my credit score is 790, and I'm ready to buy with 50% down. Now, they can give you a pre-qual letter based on what you've said, and in that letter it'll say that everything needs to be verified. So obviously, because they haven't looked at your credit, they haven't looked at your income, they haven't looked at your taxes, so all those things need to be verified. We as realtors and attorneys and even knowledgeable sellers would never accept a pre-qual letter. We would only want to see a pre-approval. So you want to have a pre-approval. You want to go to a real lender that's going to review your credit, review your income, review your taxes, give you a full, true pre-approval. And from there on, it makes your buying power much stronger, because when we find that home, or when you find that home, you're going to be able to put in an offer right away, rather than having to call the banker, having them run all your information, and 4 days later find out that somebody already put in a bid that had their pre-approval paperwork in order, and you lost the house and back to square one. So that's the last thing we want to do. Naturally, if you're my buyer, that would never happen. I insist on that. Any buyer that doesn't want to get pre-approved before they start shopping is actually not a real buyer. I know some people want to find the house before they get their pre-approval because they feel that's better, but it's not. It's actually a detriment to your deal. And what that will do is, if you're, let's say, you make good money and you have great income and you also have expensive cars and a lot of debt, you could make, $500,000 a year, but if you have $300,000 in debt, you really are making, $500,000 a year. So you may think you qualify for a $2 million mortgage or whatever. I'm sorry, it's not a $2 million mortgage because you're going to have a substantial down payment, but you may qualify for an $800,000 mortgage, and you don't. You actually only qualify for a $500,000 mortgage, and you still need to come up with 60% down payment. It happens. I've been there with clients, so I know. It's really important, no matter your price point, even if you're in the $1 million price point or if you're in the $200,000 price point, it doesn't matter. It's extremely important you get pre-approved. So once you get pre-approved and you determine your down payment value, of course, there's mortgage insurance involved. So if you're putting less than 20% down, so let's say on a $500,000 property, 20% would be $100,000. If you don't have $100,000, you can close for 5%. Or you can close for 10% down, but you're going to have what's called mortgage insurance, and that is based on your credit, your income, how much that will be per month, and that's something you will of course speak to your mortgage banker about. I try not to give mortgage advice, legal advice, or tax advice, so I'll direct you to speak to either your mortgage your attorney or your accountant, because I don't want to give advice. I just give my opinion, and I think that is it's always based on past experiences. So once you get pre-approved and you have your price point and you know exactly what you're pre-approved for, the main thing is pinpointing a neighborhood you want to be in. That's the key thing, because if you say, I want to be in Miami, or I want to be in Nassau County, or I want to be in Manhattan, I mean, it could be absolutely anywhere in those areas. So it's very important, and the number one thing that you should do, you and your significant other, or whoever you're buying the property with and whoever's going to live there with you, the other decision makers should go with you and just drive around. Drive around and look at different properties in areas that you think you might like, and do that and see if you like the neighborhood, if you like the feel, and of course if you like the location of the property. What I do with buyers since this COVID-19 started happening is I recommend that I send them a list of properties. If they like, let's say, 5 or 6 of them, drive by them and make sure they like the location, because I could map it out and tell them where it is, but it's different when you drive by. You know, there might be a tree in the front of the house you don't like, or there might be, you know, something in front of the house that is not easily to be removed and you hate it. So those are all important things to do as a buyer, to do your legwork, is really pinning down the neighborhood, driving by and making sure this is somewhere you want to be, because right now you're taking a pretty big risk by going to look at properties. You can, you know, be in danger just by walking into somebody's house who was infected. So it's very important that once you go in, you've done all your other research, especially right now. So that's an important thing. And determining a timeline, because if you're looking for a property now, let's say May or June, but you don't want to close until November or December, that seller most likely will not want to wait for you, and that will hurt your negotiating power, because now you have something that they can hold over your head. So I would say if you want to move by December, I would say start, you know, your search by maybe June or July at earliest, because, you know, I mean, most contracts nowadays 60 to 90 days max in New York, 30 to 60 days pretty much in Florida, and you know, you are putting yourself in a bad situation looking way far in advance. Other people are ready to close in 30 to 60 days, so it's actually deterring your offer from being a great term offer. So that's a big thing, determining your timeline, really setting up a real timeline for yourselves, what you want to do, what you think is going to be the best you know, timeline for your family to close, whether your kids are in school, whether you need to register your children in school, or whether you're starting a new job. You want to make your life as easy as possible at all times. And, you know, you need to make a pros and cons list. What will you gain by moving into this neighborhood? And what will you lose moving out of your last neighborhood? You know, because if your pros are always more than your cons, your decision is always good. So if your school district is better, or if you're getting a bigger property size, or if you're getting a more updated home, or if you're getting a home with a lot more equity, these are all things that really make a difference in making a determining you know, decision of, yes, I'm going to move forward with this property. So those are all things that you need to determine. And also, are you willing to do some work? Because I get a lot of buyers that say to me, well, you know, if I find the right house, if it needs a little work, it's okay. But then I bring them to like a property that would be the right house. It's almost exactly what they want. And then they're like, oh my God, I need so much work. So determining what do you mean by fixer-upper? Because yeah, I can bring you to a fixer-upper that has about $250,000 in equity, but you need to put in $110,000 or $120,000 in repairs or in cosmetic updates, whichever one, you know, it's needed. So you have to really determine that. Do you really mean fixer-upper, or do you by fixer-upper mean just painting and cleaning up? Because that's not a fixer-upper. A fixer-upper is changing floors, changing windows, changing roof, changing siding, changing possibly plumbing and electric, all appliances, forget about the appliances. So that's what a real fixer-upper is. And I think that's, sometimes buyers get that confused with something that could just use some cosmetic cleanup, which is very different, and you need to really specify, because then what we see that as, we're going to find the crappiest home in the best neighborhood and we're going to send that to you because you want a fixer-upper, and that's what a fixer-upper really is. So these are all the things. Obviously, one of the most important things is having an agent by your side that knows the market, that can, you know, if you fall in love with a home, can run comparables. I run comparables for my buyers all the time. I do like 3 times more work than I need to. But when my buyer makes that decision, they're sure of that decision. And they know this is the best home for them. And they know that we got an immense value in that property. So these are all the things that I would recommend to buyers. If you are a buyer looking to buy, please contact me. There's absolutely no fee. You have absolutely no obligation. I don't do buyer brokerage agreements. I don't try to lock you into me. But what I do is provide a service that's above and beyond what you've ever experienced in the past. And I used to be an exclusive buyer agent in the beginning of my career, which was 20 years ago. And I exclusively worked with first-time home buyers. I worked with people upgrading into their second home, which was usually a step up home. And I did that for the first about 6 years of my career. So I have a lot of experience with buyers, and I know it's not easy. And no matter your purchase, price, whether it's, like I said before, a $200,000 property or a $2 million property, it is the biggest purchase of your life. No matter who you are, if you're buying a $500,000 property, that's your absolute max price point, because everybody buys the best and highest home that they can afford. So again, New York and Southeast Florida, if you are looking to purchase, please contact me. My telephone number in New York is 516-885-2525, and in Miami is 305-773-5994. You can reach me at either number at any time, either by text or call. You can also email me at 𝒦𝒻𝒮, the number 4 and the letter U at gmail.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at 𝒦𝒻𝒮 and also like my page on Facebook. It's www.facebook.com/𝒦𝒻𝒮. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. And even if you're not ready at this moment and you have some questions and you want to start preparing, call me. I'm here for that. And it would be my pleasure to help clear up some confusion that you may have and potentially answer some questions. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe and like my page. Thank you.